All right, so this presentation is about mutations. So now I want to talk with you about what a mutation is and what kind of consequences it can have. So a mutation is a mistake in the DNA sequence. And it can be caused by by toxins or dangerous radiation. Often, yes, and it can lead to cancer. Yes, very much. But it can be caused by toxins or radiation, like the X-rays that Rosalind Franklin was working with, right? That can cause a disruption in the DNA sequence of your cells, of your skin or of your body. X-rays can go right through and penetrate into your cells and go right into your nucleus and mess with your DNA. So that can cause mistake. Yes, Maddie. Yes, Rosalind Franklin was the woman who actually died before she could get her Nobel Prize, yes. And we think that the reason why she died was because she worked with X-rays so much, and it gave her cancer. She died of cancer, yeah. And it's probable that that's the reason why she died, because of mutations in her cells that her own body was not able to fix, and that caused her cells to start dividing without permission. Remember what we talked about cancer? That's what cancer is. And if you have a mutation in a cell that causes it to stop obeying the proper signals, it's going to divide without permission and make tumors in places that are going to cause problems. And that was what happened with Rosalind Franklin. Yeah, that's a really good connection to make. You also need to know, though, that mutations happen very normally during DNA replication, right? They can also happen, they also occur naturally during DNA replication. They can just occur just because DNA replication is doing millions and millions of nucleotides, and it might make an error. Many of those errors are caught and fixed because DNA polymerase has kind of a spell check on it, and it makes sure that that mutations don't stay. But some of them get left. Some of them are naturally just occurring. Now, a lot of times, it just depends on where the mutation is, what kind of protein it's in, and what kind of problem it causes in the protein that it codes for. A lot of mutations are lethal. So if you wind up having a lethal mutation in a single cell in your body knows how to handle that too. Your body can say, oh, this cell is trouble, we got mutations in here, and your body will tell that cell to self-destruct. Body will tell that cell, no, we need you to die because otherwise you're going to cause problems, you may become cancerous, there may be problems there. So your body has safety checks. Yes? A cell self-destructs, you remember that cells have lysosomes in them? What does a lysosome have inside it? Good review. Yeah. Well, it has digestive enzymes in it. Yeah. Lysosomes are actually designed to digest cell contents and to get rid of a cell if the cell is programmed to go through cell death. And there are very good reasons for a cell to self-destruct. If the immune system detects that that cell has mutations in it that might cause it to become cancerous, the body's going to tell it to die so that it won't hurt the body, right? So that's a good thing. And it's lysosomes that are generally used for that. That's a really great question. Okay, so, but you have these naturally occurring mutations. All right, yeah, yeah. Yes, yes, and that is a really good point, because if not for the few mutations that are actually useful, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here. Evolution could not have happened if there hadn't been a slow accumulation of good mutations that resulted in our bigger brains and our dexterous fingers and all the things that we can do, right? Yeah. All evolution is based on random mutations that were selected for, right? The ones that were good, the ones that gave us advantages, little by little by little. Evolution has depended on that, on the mistakes that have naturally happened in DNA. Beautiful, you guys are so smart. Yes?
How does the body know whether mutation is good or bad?
Well, I think it has to do with what the cell starts to look like, right? So if you have a cell that has a mutation that causes it to start to look a bit sickly, like the nucleus isn't looking, it starts to become misshapen. It starts to divide when it shouldn't be dividing, and it's pushing against the cells around it because it's forgotten how to respond to touching other cells, and that means you stop, you don't divide anymore. Those are all cellular signals that come from the bad mutations inside, right? That are going to tell white blood cells, it's mostly the white blood cells your immune system is going to detect, potentially cancerous cells, and say, this one. and it will program it to die. Red blood cells, the only blood cancer that I know of has to do with the white blood cells. That's called leukemia. So white blood cells can become cancerous. Red blood cells not so much, because a red blood cell doesn't have a nucleus. A red blood cell doesn't have a nucleus, so there's no DNA in it anyway. A red blood cell is just a sack of hemoglobin. And that's a really, really good thing that you asked, because we're going to be talking about sickle cell anemia today, which is about the red blood cells. But sickle cell anemia is not a cancer. It's a condition where the red blood cell takes on the wrong shape. But we'll talk about that, okay? Okay, so all those things, I'm really glad we made those points. Remember that most mutations are lethal, right? Most mutations are lethal, means they can either kill you or cause problems in your body, right? But a few are beneficial. You are beneficial, and that led to evolution, not just of us, but of everything, all forms of life. Okay. All right, I'm only going to teach you about one type of mutation, and that is point mutations. Point mutations are changes to a change in a single nucleotide base, right, of the DNA sequence. And there are three types of these. There's something called a substitution, which is just what it sounds like, a substitution. A deletion, also just what it sounds like, and an insertion. So these three types of mutations are single changes in the nucleotide base sequence, right? So a substitution would be like this. If you had A, C, C, and it changed to A, G, C, right? You substituted a G for the C. A deletion would be A, C, C, and suddenly it's just AC. One of the bases just disappeared, right? An insertion would be ACC to, what is going on out there? Okay, ACC and A. Let's say we inserted another adenine in there, right? Sounds like they're having a wrestling match out there. Okay, so that would be an insertion, right? Okay, so let's think about the consequences of each one of these. If you changed ACC to AGC, what would be the consequence? changing ACC to AGC. Let's go down here, right? I think I have the, oh, come on. ACC to AGC, right? ACC would be this one, right? And you'd get a threonine, right? What if you went to AGC? What would it be? Here it is. It would change the threonine into a serine. So you would change a single amino acid, wouldn't you? Right? Now that depends. It depends. It depends on the type. Why is this not? Okay. It depends on the type of protein, right? So this would be changing a threonine. It would change it into a serine. Now this might not be lethal, but it might cause a problem. Like, for example, if you're changing a single amino acid, remember a protein is made of maybe 100 amino acids. You're only changing one of them. So it depends on where the change is. If you have an enzyme and that one amino acid change is happening way away from the active site of the enzyme, then you're probably fine. But on the other hand, if that amino acid is right in the active site in the enzyme, and suddenly the enzyme can't bond with its substrate anymore, then you've got a problem. That could be lethal. It just depends on the protein and where the amino acid change is. Okay, what about a deletion or an insertion? Can you see what the consequences for this might be? It messes up that group of three, doesn't it? Let me make it a little bit more clear because I don't think that's really clear there. Let me make it a little more clear. The substitution mutation is always going to be the least harmful of these three, always. And let me show you why. So if you do a, let's say you had, a bunch of these. Let's just make it a really, really simple one, right? And you deleted this. Now, normally, you would read this to be AAA, TTT, CCC, right? So it should be a, it should be a lysine. Oh, well, they're not, they're not messenger RNAs, but right. So after the mutation, or after this deletion, look what happens. You get AAT, TTC, and CC, and what's left? So you changed the reading frame. This is called a frame shift. No, actually, it can't. It only can read things through time. So if you take away that letter, you have changed every single amino acid following the deletion. So this deletion, and insertion does the same thing. This deletion changes every amino acid following it, right? Because it frame shifts the reading and the creation of the polypeptide. So a deletion or an insertion is usually automatically lethal. There's almost no examples in the human genome of deletions or insertions that have stayed with us, that haven't been eliminated. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
So would like the cell exploding?
You guys are always so fascinated with things exploding. No, I don't know. Nothing's going to explode. No, but you're going to have a protein that's not going to be made properly, right? So what happens is that it just depends on that protein and how important it was. Most proteins are pretty important, right? And it also depends on when and where this mutation is occurring. If it's happening in a sperm cell that then goes to try to make a baby with an egg cell, if that fetus is trying to grow and you have a really important protein not doing its job, then you have a fetus is probably never going to fully form. you'll never even form that human being, right? If you have that kind of mutation in there. Right. In fact, there are a lot of miscarriages that happen without a woman even knowing that she was ever pregnant, because they happen so early and she didn't even know she was pregnant before, she just naturally has her period, right? So there are a lot of things that happen like that. Not sperm and egg, if they're defective to begin with because of mutation that's in the sperm of the egg. A lot of times the body recognizes that early when they're trying to form in the uterus, when the baby's trying to form really early on. And if the signal's coming off of that clump of cells, it's not forming arms and legs, it's not forming a spine correctly, the woman's body will just reject it before it's even formed. Yes?
What about like less important proteins, stuff that won't make it automatically?
Right, so there are some mutations that stay because they don't really come into being until after the child is born, right? It just depends. It depends on which gene and which chromosome got mutated. So there are some mutations that have stayed with us over hundreds of years. The one that we're going to talk about is the sickle cell anemia mutation, which is a mutation in the hemoglobin. And that's a substitution mutation, so it's supposedly the least harmful, right? But that one substitution mutation in the hemoglobin gene causes hemoglobin to be the wrong shape. And then in turn, that causes red blood cells to be the wrong shape, which causes all kinds of symptoms in patients who have sickle cell anemia. So again, it just depends on where and when the mutation is occurring, right? And then what the protein's normal job is, and if it can't do that job, what symptoms does that result in? Okay.
Guys, a way to think about this, if you're having a hard time, think about it as a recipe. And you're trying to make a cake, and then you change some things within it. The mutate, you change them, and say you don't have flour anymore, you add something different. It's not going to come out the way you wanted it. It's not going to do the same thing, and it's going to be ruined. So that's sort of like what these mutations are doing, is they don't come out the way, their recipes, ingredients isn't the same now. It's all got changed. So sorry, Mr. Murdoch, I just try to help you.
Oh yeah, and it's the difference between, let's say, try to make chocolate chip cookies and without the chocolate chips.
Yeah, cool.
Can you have a chocolate chip cookie without chocolate chips? Sure you can. It just won't taste twice as good, but it's not going to kill the cookie, right? But what about a chocolate chip cookie without baking soda? Now you have a problem. No baking soda, and you have a flat cookie that doesn't look like a cookie, doesn't act like a cookie, right? So it just depends on which part of the recipe got deleted or changed, right? Okay. All very, very good. Okay, I'm going to